welcome back to our interview, part 2 of Beyond the Pill. So, Ms. Vio, I have a question, a dying question for you. What drove you to become a vegan? And can you explain the difference between vegan and vegetarian?
Sure, I get that question a lot from people. Well, what sparked me to become vegan? As I mentioned, I've always been a healthy eater. And before my full transition, what I will do is that I will kind of give my body a rest from digesting meats. A lot of people don't know, if you consume red meat, for example, red meat takes 4 days to digest, for your body to digest it. So technically, I mean, I don't mean to sound that gross, but it's basically sitting in your stomach wall for 4 days.
So that's why we have an aide for 4 days.
Exactly. So basically, think about that. It's sitting there for 4 days, and it basically is it's putrefying by the time, the 4 days has passed. So what I would do is that I would go 1 week on, 1 week off.
Okay.
And I always found that going the 1 week off, when I basically went meatless for 1 week, I felt more energy. I just felt better, overall. So the transition was not too hard for me because I was kind of semi-vegan in a way already. Mm-hmm. But what made me do it cold turkey was, I don't know if you know about him, but there's a retired LA Lakers player called John Sally. I don't know if you know John Sally. Yeah. Okay, well, John Sally is now a wellness coach. So he goes around different companies. They pay him, mostly insurance companies. I worked for an insurance company. Okay. Not health insurance, but like commercial insurance. So they hired him to go to home office, which was in Illinois, to speak. So for an hour. So we tuned in here in Orlando via like an intra TV station that they had. And the first thing that he said, he opened his speech with, and he's also vegan, but he opened his speech by saying that whatever you do, he wanted everybody to watch this documentary that created a lot of buzz when it first came out. And the documentary is called What the Health. It basically dives into the reality of a lot of the foods that we consume, which is the cause of a lot of the diseases that are out there. Illnesses like high blood pressure, diabetes, things of that nature. And it's because of the high amounts of hormones in the meats that are out there. So it's basically, it gives you a crude reality of a lot of the meats that we consume. Where do those meats come from? And by the time you see that, it basically puts a lot into perspective as far as what we're putting in our bodies. So when I saw that documentary, and after listening to him speak and the benefits that he experienced personally, after he retired from being a basketball player and turned to a vegan lifestyle, and after watching the documentary, I said, well, why am I continuing to poison my body, So it was a no-brainer for me. After seeing that, I basically, the very next day, I remember clearly I had some curry chicken that I cooked the night before. And honestly, I could not even put it in my mouth to finish it because it was already embedded in my head. Okay. So I basically threw it out, to be honest with you, and that was it for me. Ever since that day, I've been vegan, and it is so true. I have not felt, as good as I feel now ever since I've been vegan, consuming plant-based products, and a lot of those foods have been also helping me with different conditions that even when I was eating healthier, but because I was consuming a lot of those meats, I'm no longer experiencing those symptoms. So it's kind of like, why not? So to me, being vegan is the best gift that I've given to my body. Okay. Okay, and as far as the difference between vegetarian and vegan, which a lot of people get confused about.
I'll raise my hand.
So I don't call myself a vegetarian because vegetarians basically, the only thing they strip from their diet is the meats.
Okay.
But however, they still consume dairy. So they consume eggs, they still will consume milk, cow's milk, and they still will consume butter that comes from cow's milk. So that's a vegetarian. So the only thing they don't do is the red meats, the chicken, the turkey. Vegan is a completely plant-based diet.
Okay.
So they don't consume any dairy, no cheese, no milk, nothing that comes from any animal product. So that's the difference. Now, I have invented a term for my personal lifestyle, because even though I can't call myself completely vegan,
okay,
because even though I don't eat meats, but I chose to continue eating fish. Hence, there are people that are called pescatarians. I don't know if you've heard of that, but yes. Pescatarians are vegetarians that consume fish. But I can't put myself in that category because I don't eat dairy. So I call myself a pesca-vegan because of the fact that I still consume fish. Yeah. Even though I'm still very selective with the fish that I consume, I always do it for the health benefit that I'm getting into it. For example, tilapia is the worst fish that you can consume, in my opinion, because there's no nutrients to tilapia. Catfish, to me, is, in my country, fishermen go out and they catch catfish in their catch. You know what they do with it? They throw it away or throw it back in the sea.
Oh, wow.
This is the first country that I moved into that where I saw that people actually eat catfish. That is trash in my country.
You heard a lot of people place right now.
Yeah, and and you see it in a lot of restaurants. Why? Because tilapia and catfish are cheap. They're very cheap to get at a wholesale price. So that's why you see it in a lot of seafood restaurants, and they're also marked on the menu affordable because it's so cheap to get. But I don't do any shellfish. Basically with my fish, it has to be wild caught. For example, salmon. Salmon is rich in omega fats, and it's very healthy, but not all type of salmon. I don't consume farm-raised fish. It has to be wild caught. It has to be a specific type of salmon. So that's why I call myself a pesca vegan, because I don't do the dairy. I do plant-based, but fish is the only meat type product that I will consume.
It's funny you should say that, because that leads me into another question. How do you feel about the people that use grass-fed beef? If they still wanted to consume it, does that still have the same toxicity levels as your $3 pack of meat that's not grass-fed?
And the answer is no. I always say I would never force somebody to change their lifestyle as far as their diet is concerned, as far as becoming, non-meat eaters, because I do realize that's a process. I always tell people, if you're going to continue consuming meat, your body is worth spending a little extra to go with grass-fed.
Yes.
And when I add meat, there's a huge difference in taste between your regular meat and grass-fed meat. It's a lot richer in taste, and it's just overall better for you. So by going grass-fed, you're eliminating all the added hormones and all the added toxins that they put in their regular cows, so that you can get that color, or you can get that extra thick or extra, big slice of beef.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would always, consume grass-fed beef and also grass-fed eggs.
Okay.
Before I stopped consuming dairy, when I was still eating eggs, that would be the only type of eggs that I was consume. I would make sure that it said from grass-fed chickens or free-range chickens.
Okay. My next question was, and this is a big one, when you go to, I know you had this problem. We go to restaurants and we have this conniption in our mind where we're like, I can't eat this, I can't eat this, I can't eat this.
Yes.
I can eat this, but I'm going to have to take this off. So how do you handle that scenario or that daily battle with someone, with yourself rather?
Yeah, my friends tell me I'm high maintenance because every time I go to a restaurant, especially if it's not per se a vegan or vegetarian restaurant, I would talk like a regular chain restaurant, a regular franchise, I'm basically stripping the menu apart. But a lot of people don't realize that you can customize the menu or your selection based on your eating habits. You don't have to go by what's on that menu. 9 times out of 10 when you go, it's just a matter of asking the waiter or the waitress. And if they're not sure, they'll go ask the chef, or they'll send the chef out to you and say, what are your dietary needs? What are your restrictions? What are your allergens? A lot of those can be customized. So for example, if on the menu, I of course, when I go, I'm going automatically to the seafood section, because I'm sure every restaurant will have at least some type of fish. As long as it's not tilapia, I'm good. But it depends. So if you see on the menu, let's say it has salmon and it's topped with, for example, cheese, or it's topped with a heavy sauce or creamy sauce, or what have you, I will say, let me have that salmon just grilled, no salt, minus the sauce. And I will pair it with a side. Usually, a lot of restaurants have a vegetable choice of side, which will be broccoli or mixed veggies, and make sure and tell them, please steam it, don't season it. So a lot of times you can customize those menu items to fit your lifestyle. So it's really not as hard as people think. And people have been out with me to dinner, my friends, they always, they just sit back and wait for me to go through my whole spiel of what I want, what to take away, what to replace. Exactly, exactly. But at the end of the day, I know what I like, I know how I like it. So a lot of times, oftentimes, that chef or that cook is going to be willing to adapt to whatever you want, or have the sauce on the side if I'm not sure what it's going to taste like. So it's not as easy it's not as hard as people think it is, to be honest with you, to eat out. In my case, being a vegan.
You said something in that last statement that caught my attention, and I meant to ask you this earlier. One thing that I find that when I counsel people on how to eat, is like, I eat vegetables, I eat fruit, blah, blah, blah. Well, how are you cooking it? Because I find that a lot of people cook their vegetables and they make them mushy, which, as you know, has no nutritional value.
Right.
So how would you educate them to cook their vegetables, or how to shop for fruit?
As far as vegetables, to be honest with you, fresh veggies are perishable. So in other words, you have to consume them between 2 to 3 days after you buy it. Otherwise, they start losing its nutrients even sitting in the fridge.
Did not know that.
And a lot of people are unaware of that. So there's nothing wrong with buying fresh frozen veggies, as long as the ingredient just says what's displayed on the picture.
Okay.
No other seasoning, no other additives to it. For example, you can get frozen broccoli as long as you just see that one word in the ingredient section, broccoli. That's it, And that way it lasts longer. And as far as when you're cooking it, flash steam is my favorite, or barely saute. What I do is that if I'm doing a nice saute over brown rice pasta, for example, I will saute it in red palm oil very lightly to get it not mushy, but just enough, not too crunchy, raw. It's kind of like in the middle between raw and steam.
Okay.
Not too soft, because like you said, if you overcook it, you're basically not consuming any of the benefits or consuming. The one thing about being vegan is that people tend to say, okay, well, you're eating vegetables, but it's how you cook it. It's important as well.
Would you recommend the same thing for meats? My wife doesn't use a lot of oils when she cooks her meat. She lets the natural oil from the meat use it. Would you still saute it in coconut oil or red palm oil?
Yes, and the reason for that is because that's how you get the benefits of those oils.
Okay.
If you consume them. If you're not going to use them while you're cooking, you can also put them like in smoothies. I basically juice a lot. I believe in the benefits of juicing. You consume your veggies and your fruits in the most rawest form when you're juicing them.
Okay.
However, the juicer that you're using is also very important. A lot of people don't realize that when you just get just a regular cheap juicer from the supermarket, you're thinking, okay, well, you know, I'm juicing, I'm okay. But you have to make sure that the juicer that you're using is pressed. Because if it has those blades that, you know, basically extracts all the pulp from the veggies and the fruits,
yes.
You're basically losing all the nutrients. So in essence, it defeats the purpose. So you have to know the right juicer to get if you're going to be on a juicing regimen.
Okay.
You know, I basically juice a lot for my daily routine. In the morning, for example, if I may replace my breakfast and I will do a juice instead that consists of spinach, kale, celery, beets, and pineapple. You know, I'm getting a lot of nutrients in it and I'm good to go. And I would add a scoop of protein, vegan protein powder in it as well. And that will give me the energy I need to assist in my fitness because I do work out as well. Okay.
So we're going to do like a little quick wrap up for people. Mm-hmm. As you know, we're in Florida, so we got bipolar weather every day.
I like how you put that.
So just like 2 days ago, it was 40 degrees.
Exactly.
Today it's like 800. But with that change in weather, most people adjust based on the weather, which is a terrible idea in the aspect of I'm wearing shorts. Well, what if it changes? Now you have cold and flu. See, how would you recommend, or what would you recommend to treat cold and flu symptoms?
Very good question. It's a question I get asked a lot. Mm-hmm. And one word comes to mind, and that word is turmeric.
Yes.
And let me tell you, that is the holy grail of flu and cold. I can't begin to tell you how powerful turmeric is. I grew up eating turmeric. It's now that you're starting to hear the craze of turmeric here. Yeah. But basically, we grew up, a lot of West Indians, like islands and basically Hispanic countries, they've been cooking with turmeric forever. Mm-hmm. It's flavorless.
Okay.
And it's basically very powerful. Turmeric is a natural antibiotic.
Okay.
So as far as flu and cold, I have a very, and I'm going to be very honest, it's a very nasty concoction. But if you consume it, I promise you, what would you rather? Take a shot of a nasty concoction and to be 80% better the following day, or to continue feeling that way just because whatever you're taking tastes a little bit, sweet. It's not about my palate, it's what I'm putting in my body. Mm-hmm. So basically, if you take 2 teaspoons of turmeric in a glass, you squeeze the juice out of a lemon, and you add 2 teaspoons of honey. Those are the 3 weapons.
That's not nasty at all. That's like greatness.
Well, you say that, but a lot of people, may differ because when you mix it all together, it's a nice, thick, concoction. And because you're using 2 teaspoons of the turmeric, it becomes kind of thick with the honey. So, but it's basically just a shot because you basically squeezing the juice out of 1 lemon. Okay. So if you mix that together, you drink it, you take it twice a day for 5 days, just like if you was to go to the pharmacist and get an antibiotic, they tell you to take it for 5 to 7 days. Mm-hmm. The only difference is that, you're not getting the side effects of liver damage and stomach damage that you will get from that white pill. So that is my top remedy for cold and flu. Okay. It has helped everybody I've basically preached it to. They come back to me the next day and saying how great turmeric is.
So blood pressure was, the blood pressure to get that one down was?
Blood pressure was reduced intake of sodium. Okay. Consume a lot of black beans. Okay. And also coconut water and hibiscus tea. Believe it or not, hibiscus tea is awesome for reducing blood pressure. You drink it twice a day. You just let it steep for 10 minutes and voila.
Okay, so now back down to the biggest one, diabetes, which is some aspects taking over blood pressure.
Diabetes is huge.
Yes.
There is believe it or not, for people that are diabetics, there is a natural supplement, and I did recommend that to a diabetic that I worked with, and it helped her tremendously. A lot of diabetics think that you have to be on insulin basically for the rest of your life. Now I'm talking about type 2 diabetes, not type 1. Big. So type 2 diabetes, there is a insulin, it's called an insulin co-support. It's natural, your body makes it. It's called picolinate. You get it in any natural food store.
Okay.
Now picolinate is great as far as fighting diabetes and to help get you off of the dependency of insulin. As you know, we need insulin for your pancreas needs insulin for it to function correctly. The reason diabetics take insulin is because your pancreas is not generating the insulin needed. So therefore your sugar levels are always out of whack. Now with picolinate helps the pancreas naturally start creating that insulin again, which means that you will no longer need to depend on that insulin that's prescribed by your doctor.
Okay.
So it's a natural supplement that you can take that will help you. Eventually, the goal is to take you off insulin.
Okay.
And get it. But there's also a lot of foods that, natural foods that you can eat to help regulate your sugar levels. For example, asparagus. Asparagus not only is great for weight loss, asparagus is a natural fat burner as well, but asparagus is also has also helped in reducing or maintaining normal sugar levels.
Okay, and the last one was cholesterol.
Cholesterol, like I mentioned, oatmeal is very good in reducing cholesterol, and as well as coconut oil. So that's one of those things where consuming different fruits and vegetables, they may help with different conditions.
Yeah.
So coconut oil has basically a multitasker. I call it a multitasker, because it serves with different purposes. So if you're cooking with coconut oil, if you're consuming things like oatmeal, you would, and also coconut water. Drink a lot of coconut water. You will see a significant decrease in your bad cholesterol numbers.
If you had to give your takeaway, what would be that takeaway that you want people to gather from this?
My biggest takeaway for all of you guys is to remember that treat your body as your temple. God gave us this body. God designed our bodies. A lot of us fail to understand that a lot of times you can't make shortcuts with certain things. To me, your body is something that you cannot afford to make shortcuts with. So with that said, utilize the natural things that God has placed on this earth for us to consume, because these are things that will help us live a longer lifespan and will also assist us in basically being there for our loved ones, our friends, our family, our children, our grandchildren. So always live by my motto: give up a short-term pleasure for a long-term goal. And you will not only feel better, but you will just basically reap the benefits of basically living a healthier lifestyle. And it's something as simple as exercising, eating healthy, drinking a lot of water, and eliminating those basically factors or those triggers that will basically cause us to get sicker and sicker every day and depend on the white pill. Which actually brings a great question. Now I have a question for you. You've been asking away, but now I have a question for you because I'm curious. Because you told me when we first met that you are you're into pharmaceutical. You work for a pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
So my thing is, okay, you're speaking to someone that basically does not believe in the white pill.
Of course.
So what will spark your interest to be sitting down here with me today, speaking of the opposite of what you do?
It's kind of easy to actually answer, Basically, when I was sitting in class, they teach us so many different things. We go through all the different ramifications of pills, of treatments and whatnot. But we spend maybe a week on nutrition. And as a kid, this got me in a lot of trouble because I always ask why. Even to this day, why do we do things? Why do we do such and such? Diabetes. I remember distinctly sitting in class and the insulin level can be affected greatly just by exercising. So I'm like, if all you have to do is exercise, then why do we need a pill? So I started, as I grew in knowledge and started practicing, I would see the same people keep coming back to the pharmacy. Mm-hmm. If I'm taking this pill, why am I not getting better? Mm-hmm. Why am I not getting cured? So I started thinking about it. If you eat something like McDonald's, which I haven't had McDonald's since I was like maybe 13, because it just made me so nauseous. I just gave it up. Mm-hmm. What is it? It's got to be more than just inject something in me, take a pill. I have friends, I have family members that had fibro, that had multiple sclerosis, that had cancer, that had you name it. And I started looking at how people were prescribing. Well, if you have high blood pressure, you need a high blood pressure pill. Then you need a cholesterol pill to combat or act as a protectant for certain conditions. Then I need something to protect me from possibly getting diabetes. I was like, so this is a never-ending puzzle, and you just have pill on top of pill on top of pill. One of my biggest pet peeves was seeing people on 20 different medications. Like, that doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense to me. So then I started to delve deeper. What is causing the inflammation? Like you mentioned earlier, people eat fish. Well, that's rich in vitamin D3, and we don't find that balance of D3 and D6, so they say just consume a bunch of vitamin D. A lot of people don't go outside to get that D3 from a natural product, the sun. Right. Mm-hmm. So once I started eliminating some things like white rice, like breads, and even with dairy, like now I do coconut milk as a substitute for regular milk, your energy started to improve. Blood pressure levels started to come down. My dad, for example, he's a diabetic. For the longest, he kept talking about the medication wasn't helping, but he keep taking it. Mm-hmm. And then I talked to him on the phone, hey, can I get number 3? I'm like, Dad, what's the problem? So I told him about the alkaline water. He took the alkaline water. Right. Alkaline water flushed him completely out, and he noticed there was a major drop. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, just from a medical standpoint, our body has so much acidic going through it. Yes. So we balance the two out, what happens? So just to think a little differently to get people away from a pill and look for a solution. Ask why you do anything, not just medication, but why. Something I wanted to emphasize that you said earlier, and not just for cough and cold, one thing I absolutely love is turmeric. Mm-hmm. It is something that people have to get adjusted to. But one thing I found that turmeric did, and I started noticing it, after you consumed it, it was like, you ever seen the movie Limitless? Where you pop a pill, ironically, pop a pill, and you start seeing all the things that you remember and everything starts to function. Well, doing a little research, I read a book called Grain Brain by Dr. Perlmutter. I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name. And what it did is de-inflammize the brain. So it almost like you started just remembering everything. You were able to think clear. You were able to not be inflamed. And you could just, like, wow. So it's just, right now I'm just studying brain health and how to rebuild that cell. Because like you said, with the canola oil and the vegetable oil, I saw that was actually basically destroying your cell, which I know I'm getting scientific here, but it destroyed the cell, took away energy, and your inflammation just went through the roof.
The roof, yes.
So that was one of the biggest things when I found the answers to my why, and to let people know, hey, this isn't the end of your life cycle to where you have to consistently spend money on a pill. So like you said, short-term pleasure, yes, $5 extra.
Exactly.
But if I showed you your billing statement of how much you should have actually paid for this medication, you're like, maybe that $5 is not so bad.
And I mean, everybody, this is actually coming from someone that's in that field. So that's a perfect example, and I'm glad that you said it that way. And a lot of the times, I tell people, you don't have to go to a Whole Foods to eat, because I will admit Whole Foods is expensive. A lot of the foods that I tell, people, they can get at your regular supermarket. Like, for example, here in Florida is Publix. Publix is all over the place. Publix. And, you can get it at any my Sam's or, I mean, there's a lot of, what I want to stress is that a lot of people think that you have to eat everything organic. No, that's not true. You basically don't have to spend that extra to eat organic with everything. Of course, there's certain things that I tell people you just cannot afford not to go organic. For example, if you consume dairy, do not cut corners when it comes to going organic and spending that extra $1 or $2 to get organic milk.
Yeah.
From cows that basically are fed grass or pasture-raised cows. Do not spend that. Do not compromise on getting those eggs that say that they're from pasture-raised chickens. Mm-hmm. So there's certain things that obviously you cannot basically afford to not consume organic. But there's products that you basically don't have to spend that extra to eat organic. Sure. For example, fruits. Anything that you are not basically eating the skin, for example, an apple, you want to get organic because you're going to eat that apple with all in its skin. And you basically want to get that organic because there's a lot of pesticides on that apple. So unless you're using that as natural solution to wash it thoroughly before you eat it, it's basically safe if you go organic. Pineapple, you don't need to spend that extra money to buy organic pineapple because think about it, you're not consuming that outer layer of the pineapple. And it's so thick that it is resistant against the pesticides. Yeah. Same with broccoli, believe it or not. Broccoli is another thing that you don't have to spend that extra money to get organic because broccoli, it has as an ingredient that is actually resilient to the pesticides. Therefore, it's not going to penetrate it. So you don't have to get organic. So there are things that you can just go ahead and, basically afford to go the cheaper route. But there are certain things that I would not compromise with. Yeah. Your meats, your milk, But like you said, turmeric is something powerful to consume every day. There's a lot of benefits to it. And like I said, there's many forms you can consume it, on a daily basis. Besides fighting the flu and the cold, like I put it in my rice and I make yellow rice out of it, and it's, people are eating, and I just turn, rice into yellow just by putting turmeric in it. Yeah. But I basically consume turmeric every single day. And, I feel the benefits of it every single day. Not just only during the cold and flu season, but it's an antioxidant and it has many properties as well.
Yeah. I think the only other thing I would kind of tell people, educate them on, another place that they can find really, really affordable foods is Aldi's grocery store.
Yes, I've heard.
Aldi's has a lot of great produce and it's really affordable. Mm-hmm. Just kind of giving solutions for where people can go.
Exactly.
Just another avenue. But remember, just ask why.
Exactly.
Why am I not getting better?
Exactly, and use the little cut theory that I had. You cut yourself. The Band-Aid is just going to stop you from bleeding, but it's not going to close that wound. Yeah. You got to make sure and permanently close that wound. You don't want to continue depending on that white pill. Like you said, spending all that extra money by going to get that refill. That's why when I go to my doctor, he just laughs at me because he's like, I don't know what to tell you. You're not going to want to take what I'm going to give you. And I say, absolutely not. So I have forced him, believe it or not, to find alternatives because he knows me. He knows he's going to waste his time giving me that piece of paper. I'm not going to use it. Yeah. But he will tell me alternatives that I can use because he knows the type of patient that he's dealing with when I go for my checkups. Yeah. Like anytime I go, he asks me, have you taken your flu shot yet? I know you're going to tell me no, and I just look at him. Because honestly, contrary to what other people may say, and this is just me talking, I do not believe in the flu shot. I don't believe in injecting the virus into me to prevent me from not getting the flu, because that's basically what it is. So personally, I don't believe in a flu shot, and I have been fine. People believe in it. I'm not telling you, by no means, do not get the flu shot. Of course, do what your physician tells you. But I'm just telling you my personal opinion about it is that I do not believe in getting the flu shot. So he should basically just ask me because he has to, but he knows my answer is going to be no. I'm not going there.
Which brings me to another thing. Something I kind of was researching on my own. You may have had some experience with this as well. A lot of people say high blood pressure has always ran in my family. Diabetes has always ran in my family. I have a cousin whose wife is a physician. She educated me that a lot of disease states were idiopathic. Idiopathic is just another word for I don't know. So that triggered that one word again, why? So if grandma cooked with canola oil, great grandma can cook with canola oil, well, that's probably your cause right there. Rip away canola oil, replace it with coconut oil, change just a little. But we get so entranced with doing what the previous generation did.
Exactly.
We just follow the same principles. So if I change this part of the equation, then that solves this. Okay, I got an answer. That just answered my why. So if you think about it just logically, we can solve a lot of the things just by a simple fix. It just seems too simple to go eat a piece of fruit or
exactly, but it is as simple as it sounds. And you brought up a good point. It's called breaking the chain.
Exactly.
So, for example, I'm breaking the chain in my family because, yes, there is high blood pressure in my family. There is cholesterol issues with my family. But that's because, like you say, the eating pattern. Mm-hmm. So here I am, I'm coming in my generation, I'm changing that pattern. So now they're looking to me, my aunts are looking to me for questions.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Vio, I'm feeling such and such. What do you recommend? And I'm like, okay, this is someone that was basically messing with me when I told him I turned to vegan and when I told him I was eating organic and stuff like that. And now look who's asking me for advice.
That's a sign that you're doing something right.
Exactly.
If they making fun of you, you're doing something right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but it's just a matter of breaking that chain. And to me, there's no condition hereditary. Just because the generation before you had it doesn't mean that you're going to guarantee to get it. It's all in how you live your lifestyle.
So have you gotten this question? I eat such and such because I'm black. I eat such and such because I'm white. I'm Spanish. How do I change?
I get that a lot.
Because black people have different things than Spanish people, and Spanish people have different things than white people. In essence, it's all the same foods to a degree.
All the same foods, and to me, food doesn't discriminate. It's all in the culture.
Yeah.
I come from a Hispanic culture mixed with a West Indian.
Okay.
My mom was Panamanian and my dad was from the islands, from St. Thomas. So I have both cultures in me. With that comes both two different eating habits. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that because now that I'm vegan, I can't still reap the benefits of eating either way. It's just the small tweaking and small adjustments that I have made. Mm-hmm. Like for example, I can still eat with curry. I love curry. Yeah. The only difference is that I'm not using it in meat, but there's a lot of meatless options that I'm, consuming, and I'm just seasoning them with curry. So I'm not basically compromising my cultures, or my eating habits because of it.
Okay. And that's another thing I want to warn people about. Even when you go meatless, mm-hmm. even in the health food store, read those ingredients because canola oil is still
in there. Even in the meatless products, it's still in there. So always learn to read the labels. I know it's kind of like going to school all over again mm-hmm. to learn to read labels, but there's two things that you basically want to make sure when you pick up that box, the less the better.
Yes.
Just as long as you stand by that, and if it's something that you cannot pronounce, that means it's not good for you. It's not good for you.
Yeah.
So the less it has, the better it is for you.
Okay. We want to thank you for joining us in this episode of what we titled Beyond the Pill. Again, as a disclaimer, consult with your physician first before doing anything. Do not abruptly stop a medication. Being in the medical industry, if you stop a medication, you can do a lot of damage to yourself if you just abruptly stop that medication.
I want to thank you, Landon, for giving me the opportunity to sit with you and speaking to me as well, and reaching out to everybody out there. I just want to end with one thing. Remember, take care of yourselves, take care of your body, and nourish your body, nourish this design given to us by God. So I want to thank each and every one out there for allowing us the time to reach out to you guys, and be blessed today and always.